Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's live chat. I'm Rebecca Fhuere here with our Executive Director, Andre Stancil, and our entire executive team. There is still plenty of time to get your questions in for today's live chat. Send them to DOC_questions. We'll be doing live chats in a regular cadence from now on. They'll be held monthly on the second Tuesday of the month at 11 o'clock, unless one needs to be changed for whatever reason. So if you're not available to join us for whatever reason, or you just want to go back and revisit one of them, I'll be posting the recording on the front page of DocNet under Executive Director Quarterly Chats. Mr. Stancil, thank you for having these continual regular chats and for letting staff have yet another outlet to ask you and our entire executive team these live, unfiltered questions. It's so important to have our voices heard.
You're welcome, and thank you for facilitating this. We learned during the last meeting that it's a lot harder than it looks. So thank you for facilitating it. I want to start off by thanking Sterling and BV for hosting the exec team. We've started our monthly going out and touring facilities and doing our exec meetings at facilities. And as I told you, I think at the last monthly chat, that Sterling was the first one and BV hosted us yesterday. So thank both of those institutions for their hospitality. And then I also want to give a shout out to IOS, who is celebrating their 30th anniversary. Had an opportunity to go down there this morning and spend a little time down there, and the staff, they had some very good food and they seemed like they were enjoying themselves. So just want to give a shout out to them. And I'll just roll right into some updates, unless that's not what I'm supposed to do. Rebecca, keep me on track.
Yeah,
okay. So I'll just roll right into some updates. Not a whole lot to update. Just I want to tell everybody that we are the last thing I saw, the last stats I saw, we're right around 1,258 staff vacancies. That's still not great. But I just want to remind everybody that less than a year ago, we were at 1,789 vacancies. So we're right at about 18% now. We want to get a lot lower than that. We're working, HR is working, the tag team is working. We're having the hiring events, we're doing the incentives. But that's not to say that there aren't other great ideas out there that can help us, to recruit and retain staff. So as always, we're soliciting ideas and suggestions from everyone. So please feel free to get those in. If you want to send them to the chat box, if you want to send them to me, if you want to send them to any of the exec staff, feel free to get them to us any way you can, because we realize that although we're boasting that 1,200 being in the 1,200s, because we're celebrating being down from the 1,700s, but we still understand and recognize that, that we still have a long ways to go. And we appreciate all the work that you all are doing day in and day out, in these recent shortages that we're having. The next thing I want to talk about is we had gotten to the point where the entire exec staff we had filled all the vacancies. We've selected the director for clinical services. We selected the director for the parole division. And right when we thought we had everybody on board and we were starting to celebrate that, Annie Skinner, which most of you know because she sent out a message, she decided to resign and go and be with family in Texas. So we're now on the search for a new PIO. We're getting a lot of interest in that position. So we should be doing interviews and making a selection on that real soon. And hopefully that will round off the exec team. We realize that our exec team vacancies aren't as important as the vacancies in the field, because that's, where the rubber meets the road. However, there's some key positions. The PIO position is a very vital position to the department, not just the exec team, but to the department, because that is the person that stands the gap between us and all of the stakeholders when it comes to media, when it comes to external questions, when it comes to being that person that communicates for the department. So that's a key position, and we're searching for the right person for that role. The next thing I want to talk about is budget. We are starting to ramp up in the budget process now, and we're a long ways from the actual sessions, not since a long ways. We still have some time between now and when the session actually starts, but the budget process for us has already started. So what I want to do is, I know there's a lot of people out there like me when I first came here, and I'm still not a budget process expert, but there's a lot of people out there that don't fully understand the budget process, and it creates a lot of questions and sometimes some misnomers, if you will, about what we can and can't do, and why aren't we doing, this, or why aren't we doing that. So what I want to have is either, I usually pick on Mitch all the time, and I'm still willing to pick on Mitch this time. But this time I'll give him an option, Mitch or Ashley, whoever wants to take it. If you could give everyone a kind of rundown of how that budget process works, and I'll let you guys play rock, paper, scissors of who does that. So one of you just jump in and explain the budget process to the staff.
Ashley, I'll let you take it this time. How about?
Thank you so much, Mitch. I'm really excited to talk to you all about the budget process. So, as you know, as state government, nothing goes quickly. And so what happens is around February and March of every fiscal year, or sorry, every calendar year, the exec team starts talking about what we want to submit for our next year's fiscal year budget. So if we're talking about the FY25 budget, that's for the years July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 25. We start talking about that in March 2023. So we come together, we start kind of spitballing ideas, and what happens is our budget requests, which are called decision items, but our budget requests are due to the governor's office July 15th. Sometimes that date changes a little, but it's usually in July. And we submit kind of a list of, it's a wish list of things we want to fund. What happens then is between July 15th and November 1 is we have a lot of back and forth with the governor's office about our requests. Can they be scaled? Meaning, can they be funded at 15%? Have you thought about the interactions with other agencies? Those kinds of questions go back and forth. We get a decision, and then on November 1st, the governor's office submits his budget to the legislature. Then the legislature kicks off. So even if we get a funding request by the exec team and then through the governor's office, it goes to the legislature because we have checks and balances in this country. There's a whole long debate, usually in January through March, on what's going to be included in the long bill. And so there's this committee in the legislature called the Joint Budget Committee. It's made up of both state representatives and state senators, and they kind of debate our decision items. They ask questions, and they come up with a new budget. So they'll have some things that they approve, some things they don't approve. And after it gets voted out of that committee, it goes to the committee of the whole legislature votes on it. It gets approved usually around May to hit July 1, 2024. The reason we're telling you this is a couple of things. One, it takes a while. Two, again, checks and balances are really important in this country. So we have a lot of branches of government kind of working together, and sometimes not working together. And then the third reason that I like actually talking about the budget with everybody is just a reminder of civics and that you have a voice in our budget. have a voice with us. Obviously, you can reach out to your leadership and your exec team at any point in time to talk to us about it. But then you also have a voice when it comes to the governor. He's everyone's governor in the state, and then as well as your local representatives. So again, you have a House representative and a state senator. So it's important to look those up, and they're always happy to take constituent calls. So if you see a decision item that you like, you want us to get approved, please call your state senator or your state representative. Tell them that. If you see one you don't like, you should call them and tell them that as well. So it's a long, lengthy process, and we want it to be as transparent as possible. And I just want to remind everyone out there that you have a voice, because we do live in a democracy.
Thanks, Ashley. While we have you, I'm not sure if you want to take this or Mr. Stancil. For those staff who are not eligible for the 5% raise, will we be eligible for the proposed 3% raise next year?
So do we have Michelle back on from HR?
I'm here, yes.
Okay, I believe that's a steps question.
Yeah, I've got a lot of step question responses, but as far as the 3%, until that long bill is approved, we won't know what the approved across the board increase will be.
Thank you. We have a, thank you. Sorry, Ms. Cottingham, I think I cut you off there.
I just said more to come on that.
Okay, you got it. What about pay increases for parole officer positions to make the positions more in line for other law enforcement agencies?
One sec, let me get to my notes on the parole officer. So last year in 2022, the state retained a firm that did a market data for state employee compensation. And that is published in the annual compensation report on DPA's website. And the purpose of the report is to analyze the competitiveness of the state salary against the market. And as a result, it recommended that the community parole officer range minimum be increased, and it went up by $1,447 a month for the minimum.
Thank you. Can you tell us why case managers are always being left out of incentives and bonuses, as well as the 3% raise?
In regards to case managers, they are receiving the housing incentives that are given to the Denver complex, Sterling, Lyman, and Buena Vista. In addition, the case managers also are eligible for the referral incentive. That's where if you refer a family member or a friend to a 24/7 facility, you're then eligible, and there is a cap right now of 250 of those referrals. In addition, last fiscal year, the case managers that were working at a 24/7 facility received a $1,000 retention incentive. And then finally, last fiscal year, case managers could receive the $4,000 through the redeployed security post if they worked as a long-term modified assignment.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask these questions number 1 through 4. You might want to answer these all in the same questions, but I'll answer these as kind of one question. Why are the step raises being done by time and series, not by DOC service date? How can your dedicated staff lose out on their step raise because they moved series? Number 3, how can you justify an 18-year DOC staff member making less than an 8-year DOC staff member? And number 4, I am wondering if anyone has considered that all of the newly hired staff coming into the department that will be eligible for step raises in July 2024 will be making roughly $100 less than much more tenured staff that have been loyal to the department for many years but do not qualify for step raises. Are there any pay plans in consideration for those more tenured staff that they feel valued by being given the same opportunities as those more new staff?
Thank you for all that, Rebecca. I know that there are a lot of questions as we gear up towards the STEP program. I think it's important to give a little history here. So the state of Colorado and WIN came together in the fall of 2022 to negotiate wages. And that is the result of the statewide partnership agreement. And in those negotiations, the parties agreed that the new STEP program would be based on job series. And that was agreed on and then ratified by both the state and WIN. So DHR has recently created a website that's solely based on the STEP pay program, which goes into effect July 1st of 2024. And so we've been sending out what information we have received from DPA on that, but I can also put the link in the chat as well. But in there is some frequently asked questions, a lot of good information, helpful definitions. There's a STEP pay estimator for state employees. I know OHR sent that out as well. And so they continue, that is a work in progress, and they continue to update that site. I would like to draw a little bit of attention to some information that is on their website. And I'll just bear with me while I read it a little bit, but I think it's helpful. On July 1st, 2024, the state will implement the STEP pay program for eligible classified employees in the state personnel system. And the program addresses pay equity issues, alleviates pay compression, reduces bias, and addresses employee pay progression through the pay range based on time and series. STEP pay increases within job class pay ranges for classified employees take into effect July 1st, 2024. And then important to know that in an official preliminary notice of your placement in the pay plan will be provided to staff by March 31st, 2024. And then also important is implementation of the STEP pay program, and the proposed fiscal year 24-25 plan will not occur until the legislator approves the budget for the 24-25 fiscal year. And that's where I was talking about the long bill earlier.
Hey, Rebecca, if I could jump in here,
Yeah.
the one thing I want to make sure we stress, because we get this question quite a bit, and I want to make sure we stress this. Unfortunately, we as the DOC, we are not involved in that negotiation between DPA and co-wins. That negotiation is between DPA and co-wins. So when it comes to what series is getting in, how much is going, all of the rules and particulars around the steps, we don't have say in that. We have an opportunity, which we exercise all the time, to express the questions and the concerns you bring to us. We pass those on. I pass them on to the DPA director all the time when we're talking. We speak regularly. But actually at the table, being part of that negotiation, the DOC itself doesn't have a seat at that table. So some of these questions, so I'm advising that, it's like Ashley was saying earlier, there is a voice and you all have a voice. So these questions that we're asking, I would just make sure you encourage everyone, not only ask us these questions, but like I said, DPA and co-wins are at that table. So make sure if you're a co-wins member that, you're asking them those questions as well, because we're not at that table. We don't have a seat at that table. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that. Because there's things that we see as well that we bring up and we question and we take forward that you bring to us. But there again, we're not sitting at the table. So I just want to make sure I highlight that point.
Thanks for clarifying that, Mr. Stancil. Ms. Cottingham, did you have more to add to that?
No, did you have additional questions? That was my response to questions 1 through 4.
Well, you're not quite off the hook yet. I have another one here. Correctional officers' staff continually see raises when they're already above market. However, admin staff are severely underpaid and are also experiencing high turnover. Is there a reason positions such as Admin 3, SRC, and ACA coordinators are continually overlooked?
Bear with me 1 sec.
Should be 8 on your list.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I have 8, the annual compensation report.
Yep,
Oh, it's at the bottom. I'm sorry.
it
My
is.
bad.
Yep, we shortened it for you.
Yeah, so please understand these positions are not being overlooked. DOC leadership and exec staff understand that there are compensation issues statewide, just as Director Stancil just explained. I do encourage you to visit the website as it explains total compensation and what is actually included in that and what's excluded, because I think that gives a better indication.
Thanks. Let's switch gears here and let's talk about the MAP program. Mr. Woodson, are you on?
I am, thank you.
Of course. With the installation of the MAP program, have we seen a decrease in the drug use on the streets, or are we seeing an increase in the number of offenders abusing the program?
Thank you. So with this question, I think it's important to know that Senate Bill 19008 is the bill that required the DOC to continue MAT for individuals who had entered the DOC already on some form of medication for the treatment of opioid use disorder. So since that bill was signed back in 2019, we've complied with the provisions of that bill. The bill also provided funding for county jails to provide MAT for people with an opioid use disorder. So the way that this works is that as the jails began to start people on MAT, we're seeing a significant increase in the people coming into DOC on MAT. So I say that really to say, or to get clear that as long as the legislation is in place, MAT is really here to stay. In the department, we essentially have 3 treatment tracks for the MAT program. We have a track for individuals who are coming into DOC already on MAT. We have MAT for individuals who are releasing from prison. So shortly before they're about to get out, we're offering MAT within a few months before release. And then we work with them to get them connected with community treatment providers before they leave the walls. And then the third group is that we have a small number of individuals who did not come into DOC on MAT, but during their incarceration demonstrated that they present a high risk for overdose while in prison. So we're offering MAT to some of those people in that group. In just to put things in perspective, in fiscal year 22-23, so that's the year that ended just in July of 23, we saw 593 people come into the department on MAT. So brand new people coming into the department already on MAT. And again, to put that in perspective, the year prior, we only saw 205 people arrive on MAT. So we're seeing a pretty significant increase in the number of individuals coming into DOC on MAT. And then MAT itself, the program is a harm reduction program, meaning that one of the goals is to decrease overdoses, and specifically overdose deaths. So we do that by providing medication to include Narcan or naloxone and group counseling to treat opioid use disorder, and then connecting people with community treatment upon release. The legislation that we're under did not come with any additional funding. So to support our MAP program, we've actually been fortunate enough to receive some grant funding. We're using that grant funding to purchase medications as well as making renovations to some of our facility clinics to support the MAP program. So to answer the question more specifically, have we seen a reduction in drug use on the streets? So that's not really a data point that we can reliably track. That would probably require maybe twice a week or so drug testing on everyone that's on parole. But the second part of the question, are we seeing an increase in people abusing the program? So the short answer is essentially yes. But keep in mind, as we see an increase in the number of people that are in the program, yes, we're going to see a larger number of people who do abuse their medication. To tackle that, we've implemented a multidisciplinary work group to address Woodman's diversion. So when somebody is receiving their medication and they cheat and do something to keep the medication and they go back and either sell it or maybe they're potentially hoarding that medication, typically Suboxone. Suboxone is in a film that adheres to their cheek. So we're looking at ways that we can improve the monitoring of Suboxone administration. We're looking at other ways that we can decrease the amount of drugs coming into the facilities from the streets. It's important to note that not all of the Suboxone that we're seeing in the facilities is actually coming from the clinic. We do know that there's an amount of Suboxone that's coming in actually from the streets into facilities. And we're also looking at, can we develop an audit tool that will make sure that we're following our policies and our stopgap measures that we've put in place? So we do have a group working on policy around the MAP program, and that includes several wardens as well as clinical staff to address the issue.
Thanks, Mr. Woodson. Thank you. Mr. Lake, what is being done to stop the drug problem inside the facilities? Mr. Lake, are you there?
Yes, I'm sorry, I got you now. Right now in the IG's office, we're starting back up our part-time impact team, which utilizes a three-pronged approach in their drug investigations, which is enforcement, prevention, and education. Enforcement means that anybody introducing drugs into a facility, of course, will be charged at the full extent of the law through the DA's office. The prevention piece will, every investigator in each facility will get with their facility staff, intel officers, and do more actual interdictions. Staff and offender interdictions will increase. And that would help officer safety, because if we can prevent the drugs from not getting into the yard area, we catch it at the visiting or in the parking lot, that's a win. So we will definitely increase interdictions. Also, we have our tips line that if you have any ideas, if you see any drug introductions going on, or you want to share that information with us, it's 1-877-362-8477. You can leave your name and the facility, but you don't have to leave a name on it, but at least let us know the facility and we'll get right on there and do some research. Also, you can send information to us at the DLC_IG Chiefs email router. And you don't have to leave a name, but the facility would be great, and we can concentrate on that, because we know that 90% of our issues and problems are around drugs. So they're very bad, and we will do whatever we need to do to fix that problem in the DLC. Also, we have an interdiction scheduled this Saturday, and we have one in October. So we will ramp that up. Rain, sleet, or snow, we will be there to do that. So, and any suggestions you have, get with us, and also let your facility investigator know about what we can do.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about programming and training. Ms. Smith, I know that you're on. Can you talk to us about the executive philosophy on educational programming? What do we want to expect in the near future, medium future, concerning budget, expansion, or reduction of programming around staff training?
Okay, thank you so much. Great question. As we start to open programming back up in the facilities, we are excited to have the opportunity to expand a number of programs, primarily looking at expanding our technology offerings through utilization of the Google platform and utilizing an offline version for our incarcerated individuals that are participating in Pell programming. We are also eagerly working to implement additional programming throughout the department that will help us to include additional institutions of higher education that will be able to offer more programming throughout our department and to our population. We are looking currently at options for adding additional programming subjects such as financial awareness curriculums and a number of other life skills, social concept curriculums. So overall, we are eager to get started, and our philosophy is that we will continue to program. One exciting event that we've just recently had is that we have also been working with a number of our higher education institutions to get opportunities for our incarcerated individuals that have earned bachelor's and master's degrees and qualify to act as peer educators, that they can partner with our higher education institutions to help instruct some of those institutions, because much like education out in the private world or in our public setting, teachers are hard to come by. We also have some of that happening within those higher education institutions, and so we are working to figure out how to partner so that our incarcerated population can provide some additional support.
Great. Here's a great question for you as well, since we have you. Can security staff specific only training be offered to support staff in order to better support staffing challenges and facility security needs? If it is possible, what is your guidance on making this training available to support staff? We're talking about lethal, non-lethal systems, restraints, armed hospital watch.
Great question. While we have experienced some pretty significant staff shortages over the years, we are very thankful for the support that our non-correctional teams have provided us to allow our correctional individuals to really hone in and provide those security practices in that more refined and detailed world. We will continue that process and hopefully continue to move out of having to utilize our non-security staff on a day-to-day basis. But if there is an interest in earning or gaining some additional skills, we ask that you work with your management teams and your training providers to see what training options are available.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Ms. Clark, if you're still on, can you clarify the department's policy on charging personally owned electric vehicles while at work using the supplied power sources?
Yes, I can. So CDOC is embracing the state's adoption of electric vehicles through the Green Government executive order. And I'm actually kind of proud to say that we have the largest EV fleet in the state. Our EV charging network has required a bit more planning and energy to grow, pun intended, apologies all for that joke. But as a result, we're sitting at a 7-to-1 ratio of 7 vehicles per charger, and that's 7 state vehicles per charger. So at this time, CDOC just cannot support, can only support, CDOC vehicles and cannot support individual vehicles. So until the time when CDOC officially announces the ability to support workplace charging, all employees are prohibited from charging their personal vehicles while at work. This does include like random outlets at one of the facilities or the CDOC EV chargers. As some of you are aware, our facilities are a bit old and are unable to handle the increased energy demand that EV charging requires, especially when we start opening it up to all employees at this time. That said, we are actively engaged in this topic and are analyzing various solutions. We remain focused on the cleaner feature and look forward to rolling out solutions as they come.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Mr. Cayley, are you on? I haven't talked to you yet this afternoon. Are you on?
I am.
Thanks for joining us. I haven't talked to you yet. I have a couple of questions for you too. It is our understanding EOMIS is not close to being functional for command post and parole. Are they going to extend the contract for CWISE so we are able to do our job effectively?
Thank you for that question, Rebecca. So we continue to work on EOMIS. The modules that have come online with EOMIS so far will continue to stay in EOMIS. That functionality has been disabled in CWISE. We continue to work with all stakeholders and users on improving and addressing any issues that are brought to our attention. But EOMIS is quickly becoming our system of record and will continue to be so. The one thing I would like to stress is that the software is only as good as the effort that we put into building it and testing it. And I can't stress enough how important it is for all users to get into that software during the period of time that we're testing and training to ensure that the functionality that we're looking for is there and working.
Sorry, you may have answered this. You may have answered this. Will there be any formal training for EOMIS? Sorry, I was trying to do two things at the same time. Did you answer that question?
No, I did not. Thank you.
Will there be any formal training for EOMIS?
So training, we started this rollout back during the height of the pandemic. So we had to find a way to change up our training strategy, and that's where the Google Classrooms approach came from. We found that approach was really effective initially, but I would agree that over time we've found less and less participation over time. So we are identifying different strategies and methods of training moving forward with our next releases. All the training that has been provided continues to be available in the Google Classroom, and you can get links to those straight off of the EOMIS page. And if you're having trouble with something specific, please reach out to somebody in the Business Innovations Group, Decorum team, and we'll be happy to reach out to you and help you through it.
Thanks, Mr. Cayley. Thank you. Mr. Stancil, back to you for a few questions. Would you be approving patrol shorts for staff maybe by next summer?
Patrol shorts, that's kind of a new one. I didn't even know that was an interest. That is something we can take a look at, and I don't mind exploring that option. So I'm not going to give a definite yes or no now, but I don't mind exploring that option.
Okay, thank you. You had a meeting with captains recently. Are you going to be taking time to meet with lieutenants as well?
So that's part of the bigger overall plan of, you may have heard me, some of you may have heard me talk about looking at all of the department's processes through the lens of 3 different buckets: what is statutorily required, what is sound correctional practice or safety, and what is that third bucket, which is we've always done it that way, you know, and we're trying to reduce the amount of stuff that's in that third bucket of we're doing it just because we've always done it that way. And the reason we started with the shift commanders is because they pretty much touch every department. So the goal is to touch every department individually throughout the entire DOC. So will we single out lieutenants as a whole? I don't know if we'll get down to that micro level, but that doesn't mean that you guys can't offer up suggestions. Now we may at some point be able to get down to that level, or get to that level, not down to that, but get to that level. But we're trying to start out on department levels and look at department processes as a whole versus looking at it through the lens of a position. So that's why we started with the shift commanders, because they touch all the different departments. So a quick answer is we don't intend to right now to single out lieutenants and bring all the lieutenants together and talk about it. But there is an option. You always can send us ideas of how we can eliminate some unnecessary activities that go on in the department. I saw that as one of the questions that, and the question was something along the lines of, with less staff, are we looking at reducing some of the programs? We're looking at reducing some of the duties. We're trying to make sure that the duties match up with the staffing that we have. And that goes back to what I was saying about looking at things through those three buckets. What are we statutorily required to do because we have to do those things? What are we doing because it's sound correctional practice, making it safe? And what are those things that we're doing just because we've always done it, and trying to eliminate a lot of those. So I hope that answered the question.
Thank you. Is there any talk of creating a third-party committee to handle internal staff grievances?
We have not thought about that. Not to say that it's not something we could think about, but I would like to dig down deeper into that question to figure out the why. I've never been in a system, this is my second system I've worked in, I've never been in a system where we had a third party doing internal grievances. And there's many reasons why I would see that it possibly be a challenge. But no idea is off the table. We'll look at any idea that's presented to us and look at the pros and cons of doing it. But I would like whoever asked that question, if you feel, if you are comfortable, email me and let me know why you think we would need to go to a third party versus the current system we have now. I'm sure there's flaws in the current system we have, but I'm sure there's flaws in any system, no matter where you go. But if there's specific flaws that we could address versus changing the entire process, let's correct the flaws. But I would like to hear more about why, you think a third party system would be better than what we have now.
Will you be extending housing incentive for Denver after December 2023?
So our plan is we would like to extend housing incentives for everybody, but like we talked about in the budget piece where we're talking about it, that's really not solely up to me. So it's not a decision whether I extend them or not. It's more of a decision whether we get funding to extend those. So we've asked for funding to address housing incentives, but we also asked for funding to look at a whole lot of things to address the current staffing situation. It's interesting when I go out and I talk to staff and we travel around the state talking to staff, we hear people say it's not about money. It's not all about money, and we understand that, but then when we read the questions and we hear the comments, a lot of it is about money, and I understand that as well, because if I stop paying all of you right now, you'll stop coming to work, and I used to joke about that I'll keep coming as long as they keep paying me. And many of you know that I retired from the feds, and because of the compassion of the Department of Corrections, I was over in Florence when the federal government stopped paying us. We had the government shut down. We went a long period, and the Colorado Department of Corrections, you guys came through and did a lot for us and the staff over at the Florence complex when we went through that. So I do know the importance of money. So I know it is about money. It's not all about money, but I know money is important. And I can tell you, we relay this message every time we are in a position to fight for more funding for our staff, for our department. But the thing we need to keep in mind is, one, we're already the largest budget in the entire state government. So we're doing everything we can to fight for more. But we also have to be mindful and understand that, one, we're not the only department in the state government. So every other director that's sitting at the table is fighting equally as hard for their staff and their department as I am. So know that we hear you when you say we need more money for the support staff. We need more money for the parole officers. We need more money for the case managers. I hear you. We all hear you. We all support that. And if it was up to me to give you more money, then I would. But I have to operate within the budget that's allotted to me. It is no different than your home budgets. If you have X amount of money in your home budget to operate your household income, then you have to operate within that budget. And that is the same situation that I and your exec staff for the Colorado Department of Corrections, we're all in that same situation. We give X amount, we're given X amount of dollars for our budget every year. And a lot of that, another misconception is that we're just given this pot of money and we can use it the way we want to use it. And that's not accurate either. When the budget is given to us, it's given to us in lines. It's given to us, so we're told X amount of money goes to personal services, X amount of money goes to, this, X amount of money goes to that. And there's very strict rules of how we can transfer money from one line to another line. So it's not like we get a big pot of money and we can spend it any way we want to. We have to spend it in the way that the Joint Budget Committee awards it to us. So know that we hear you, know that we're fighting for you, know that we're trying to do everything we can to get more money. But we are also limited by statute and by laws to what we can do with the money that we are given.
Thank you, Mr. Stancil. This is a little bit more of a personal type question. What are you reading and what would you suggest to your staff?
To read or suggest to my staff? Well, what I'm reading right now, I do audio books. I do anything else because I don't really have time to sit and read books. But the book that I'm listening to right now is one called The Body Keeps Score. And it's talking about how your body, all of the stressors that you go through and all the different things that you go through daily, your body keeps a score of that. And it talks about the importance of, helping decompress your body because all that is carried in your body in some form or another. It's a very good book. I highly recommend it. And as far as to recommending to the staff, what in what vein are they talking about recommending? Like career-wise, life-wise, what?
They didn't say, Mr. Stancil, so that would be in whatever vein you want to recommend to them.
Okay. So here's what I recommend. Here's the one thing that I ask as your ED, and if you look at your executive staff, the majority of your executive staff are all new. So here's what we ask, and I'm sure I can speak for them. Here's what we ask for from you all. The department did not get to where it is overnight. It didn't happen in a matter of days, didn't happen in a matter of weeks, and it didn't happen in a matter of months. Some of these things that we're dealing with has been going on for a long time. and the fixes aren't going to happen overnight. They're not going to happen in a matter of weeks. Some won't happen in a matter of months. It's going to take some time. I want you all to understand that we are working day in and day out to try to address everything that you bring to us and things that you don't even know is going on in the background. There's fights that we fight that you all aren't even aware that we're fighting. So I just ask for a little understanding that we are fighting for the staff. We care about the staff. We care about every one of you that are working. We understand that many of you are here and you stuck through it through COVID. You stuck through it through all the tough times. We understand that. We do. We want to be able to reward every single staff member in this agency for everything that you do day in and day out. And that goes beyond just the paycheck. There's some, I've heard people say that supervisors and managers say, well, your paycheck is your reward. That's not how I see it. That's not how the exec team sees it. But know that we have parameters, we have rules, we have laws, we have regulations that we have to operate under too. But just because we have those, don't feel that we're not pushing against those, We're pushing against those as much as we possibly can until we're told no. And then even then, we don't necessarily stop at the first no that we're giving. We're always looking for ways to improve the quality of life, the quality of the environment that we're all working in. But we need your help as well. The questions that you're asking, the emails that I get, the text messages that I get, all of that is very helpful because we need to know what is important and what is of concern of you guys. But we also want, and I need you all to understand, is not everything is not under my control to fix, or I don't have the ability to fix everything. Everything you bring to us, we attempt to fix it. And if we can't fix it, we attempt to try to explain it. But some things we just don't have, it's just not in our control. So that's what I would ask. That's what I would ask of the staff. Have a little faith in us, trust us, and know that we are fighting the good fight for every staff member in this department.
Well said. On that note, I'll say thank you for speaking with us today, and have a good afternoon, and thank you all for coming. Bye-bye.